Ready? Yep. No, it's okay. Okay, thank you for coming along today for this last session between you and the free beer I think we might have later. So in this session, we're going to talk about what we might need to work towards something called a specimen carpentry. So if you're expecting woodworking, please leave now. So I'll describe the Carpentries program. I haven't slides, but I'm going to talk through it. It's a program that helps train researchers to use software and data skills more effectively. So it's been running for about 20 years. And the focus of the program is like a 2-day training course, which helps researchers develop their skills. That can be with like short scripting, version control for their scripts, how to share their data, how to clean their data. They're all things that are really relevant for us in biodiversity. And I'm organising this session today with my two colleagues, Deb Paul and Elspeth Haston. I know Elspeth is particularly interested in this in the context of how we're going to run the DISCO program in the UK. So we're going to do a specimen digitisation program over 10 years. And it's really important that people have the skills to mobilise that data effectively and to use it. So we've got a program of a few talks and then quite a long time for discussion. And you've got some cards where you can contribute to us to our topic too. So really what we're interested in is what you might need for the training resources that to do the activities that you do in mobilising biodiversity data and using it. So the Carpentries program is set up around software carpentry, data carpentry, library carpentry, which helps people manage library and collection-based data. And it's that kind of domain-specific program that made us think perhaps we need something that helps people manage specimen data, so a specimen type carpentry. There's quite a few of you here. Can anyone like put up their hands if they've ever heard of the Carpentries program before? Cool. Has anyone held the Carpentries program at their institute? You even knew I was going to ask that. You should have been prepared. Right. Okay. An attended one? Yeah. Yeah. Has anyone taught one? Cool. Has anyone taught one? Is anyone a teacher? I am. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Another thing that we're interested in about the way that we can use that program is that they've got thousands of instructors around the world. So they're a really supportive community for mobilizing training resources, getting people to come into your institute and train your researchers, and for your researchers to participate as helpers and instructors too. You can propose new lessons just the way that you might manage a software project or share your scripts. You can share your training resources through their incubator program. So something we'd like to talk about today is how many of you have training resources that you use to train your staff? Can anyone give me a show of hands there? Yeah, everyone's got that kind of thing. Are they in a place where others could use them? Do others use them? Yeah, cool. Yeah. So if they have been developed in such a way that you can share them, just like the way that if one develops open source software, it's got a license that means you can share it, then I would really strongly consider sharing it through the Carpentries incubator program. Just like we're all good citizens and we share our data through GBIF, sharing our training resources through a mobilization program for training resources seems like a good thing to do. The cards you've got are for you to, well, you can make any comment you like on them, but particularly if there are things that you know that you need as training resources, but you don't know where to get it then yeah, try and put that on. But also if you've got training resources that you want to share, then a pointer to those would be great too. We'd really love to hear about that and follow up later. So we've got a program now of 4 talks and then discussion time. Okay. And our first talk is from Marie Grosjean, and she's going to talk about GR cycle. And Marie comes to us from the GBIF Secretariat in Copenhagen. You need a clicker?
Which button is it that I need to press? Okay, great.
Point.
Okay, great. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. So I'm at the GBIF Secretariat. I'm a data administrator, but I also coordinate the Global Registry of Scientific Collections, which is also called GeoCycle. Yeah. Today I'll give you a special emphasis on how you can share information about your collection, even when it's not fully digitized. And yeah, let's get started. Just in case there are people who are unfamiliar with GeoCycle here, I'll just give you a quick overview of what it is. It's a registry, a website that contains information about physical scientific collections. It's not necessarily just biodiversity related collections, could be also geological collections or archaeological collections. And we also have information about the associated institutions. It's also, I'm looking at my slides. I could be standing here and then I could see my slides here. It's also a repository about codes and identifiers. And whenever possible, we try to link occurrences that are published on GBIF. So let's call it vaguely digital specimen records to GeoCycle entries, and it allows us to make metrics and dashboards. GeoCycle is also community curated. It's not one person that will update the content of GeoCycle, but it's all of us. You can also update the content if you want to. I won't go into the details here, but you're very welcome to talk to me afterwards. And the content of GeoCycle, meaning the information about collections and institutions, can be embedded in GBIF hosted portals. And in fact, the current GeoCycle website that you can see here, this is a collection page, is a page from a GBIF hosted portal. Yeah. All right. So in GeoCycle, we have textual information about collections. Things like, this is the ichthyological collection. It contains 3,000 specimens. You can go on and on with a lot of text. Maybe you can mention specific collectors, and it's all information that's very interesting to have and to display. But it's not necessarily easy to search because people may use different words. Maybe sometimes they use Latin names. Maybe sometimes they use vernacular names, different languages. So it might not be the ideal way to make a collection discoverable, which doesn't mean you shouldn't share that information. But if you wanted your collections to be more discoverable, there are better ways. On the other side of the spectrum, all the way there, we have fully digitized specimen records. It could become occurrences on GBIF. So really, with a lot more information about, a date, a collection date, a location, scientific names, and all that information is in separate fields and can be indexed on GBIF and found there, on GBIF or other data aggregators. And that's great. That's what we're working towards. We want collections that are fully digitized and fully searchable, and that's the best way. But sometimes you need something in between. Maybe you have something more than just, a text description of your collection. Maybe you have something a little bit more structured. Somewhere you have spreadsheets. It's not fully digitized specimens, but it's a lot more than just what you can write in a few sentences. And so in order to capture that, we implemented something that we ended up calling collection descriptors. I know the term collection descriptor already existed before, but we use that term. And it's for capturing the information in between. So when would you want to use collection descriptors? When would you want to make and share collection descriptors on GBIF or on GeoCycle, which is also hosted by GBIF? So it's really something that can be indexed. So that means your collection can be discoverable. So now, instead of having a collection that says they have aves, a collection that mentions a specific species of bird, a collection that maybe use the word English bird or, the French word oiseau, and you have to yourself as a person looking for collection use all of those potential keywords to find all the ornithological collections, then now if you use collection descriptors, you can use a standardized term and your collection will be coming up when a user is looking for bird collections. Another way is also to monitor and share digitization progress. Collection descriptors allow you to capture that. It allows you to capture also a lot about what's not digitized yet. Maybe you have 500 specimens that are of birds and that are not digitized, but little by little, as the digitization progress starts, and as you may share occurrences on GBIF, for example, people will be able to see the difference between what's in the collection included and what got digitized. And finally, maybe you're not familiar with GBIF, but maybe you also work with geological collections and you want to share information about the rocks and it's not biodiversity related or archaeological collections. And there's not many other places where you can share information like that. But Latimer Core and Darwin Core, and I'll explain a little bit more, have terms that will allow you to share information about geological collections. So that's another reason you may want to consider creating and uploading collection descriptors on GeoCycle. All right, so if you wanted to upload collection descriptor in GeoCycle, you would upload a table. I'll show you how it looks like in a minute. We have an interface for that. Anyone can do it. You don't have to have a login to do that. And you will have to add the title and description. And you can also use the GeoCycle API if you want to make something a little bit more programmatic. And the table that you will want to create, you can have one or many tables per collection, would look like this. Basically, you have all your columns with terms that may come from Darwin Core or Latimer Core. And you can also add additional columns that may not be mapped to any of those two standards. If you do that, you can share the information. It will show on GeoCycle and people can access and see it, but they won't be able to search based on the information in those columns because we don't index fields that don't come from standardized data. So here's an example. This is when you want, for example, to share information semi-structured. So in this case, we have fish that come from Colombia and that are freshwater species, and we have 300 of them that are identified at the genus level. So the first two columns, the first column is a Latimer Core term, which doesn't exist in Darwin Core. You can put it there. Then we have two Darwin Core terms, and then we have columns that are unmapped, but they will still show on GeoCycle. So that can be quite interesting to consider using it. You can put as many columns as you want. Currently, we only have a subset of all the possible terms that we index in GeoCycle, and that's because we don't want to create many filters if there is no data. But if you want to share more information, then we can make more of those terms indexed. So we index scientific names, country, biome type, object classification name, and we also index a few others, but they can be searched for now only on the API. And these are the things where you can use, the filters you can use to search collections based on descriptors. So in order to have more descriptors in GeoCycle to make collections more discoverable, I attempted, together with a community of editors, to transform the information that already existed in GeoCycle and two descriptors that can be indexed. I haven't done it for all the collections or all the possible things in the world, but I've done it so far, or I attempted to do it for identifying fish and algae, marine and freshwater collections. So this is an example. Yeah, so you can see a collection page on the left, and this is the type of text you would have on a GeoCycle page, right? And I did something really simple. I use a little script that looked for keywords to identify fish and to identify a biome type, a realm. And so you can see the highlighted words is what the script finds, and then it transforms that into a little descriptor table. It uses the GBIF API to suggest the addition of descriptors, and the notification is sent to the GeoCycle editors all around the world to review those additions, so that what is done programmatically still has a human checking them behind. So the results of my attempt is this one. We have a number of, actually, this is from September. So if you go on the Geocycle website, you have a bit more. But you have a number of algae and freshwater, algae, both marine and freshwater, and fish, both marine and freshwater collections that can be found with the search filters now, thanks to the editors approving all the changes. And yeah, I hope that will encourage more people to make their collection discoverable. It's not exhaustive. It's just a first attempt, and I'll try to continue with other groups. Yeah, if you're interested in Geocycle, we have a whole curriculum online. You're very welcome to. It's freely accessible. We have videos and transcripts always available online. And there's one module that's specifically about collection descriptors. You're very welcome to take only that bit if you want to. You can go through the entire curriculum. If you're interested in having a little hackathon in your institutions and maybe encourage people to upload collection descriptors for their collections in Geocycle, you're very welcome to reuse the material. And also, if you need extra help to organize such sessions, I'm available. Yep, thank you very much. I don't know if you want to take questions later. Maybe.
Questions at the end. We'll have questions till the end, if that's okay. So thank you, Marie. So next we have Deb Paul, who joins us from Illinois, TaxonWorks, and she's going to talk about envisioning a resilient model for capacity building in biodiversity informatics.
Okay, we're going to just press this. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all here. I'm going to go quickly through this and ask you for a favor as we talk. If you have capacity development needs, raise your hand in your organization. Do you have capacity development needs? Do you need help training staff? Do you need more staff? Most of us need these things, yes. So think about what I'm envisioning here with a lot of my co-authors and what might also be missing. Would be interesting to hear from you. So from my background, I have experience in IDIG Bio with capacity development and continuing this while I'm currently at the University of Illinois. And if I can figure out, there we go. Coming from the, so we're starting very high. January of 2025, they published a report. Whether you are in the business world, whether you're in the private sector, whether you're in academia, they see a huge need for capacity development. They project that with satisfactory capacity development that we do not have, we could release as trillions of dollars into the global economy, and that we need to work together to fill these gaps. So it's not just us. So we see, and in addition to that, we need to serve the individual to the many. And we have some existing pieces. So how can we collaborate to develop further those, as well as developing the missing pieces? So it's about what we need to do, what we want to accomplish. It has an economic cost if we do not do it. And we need to do it faster. So we've envisioned these key parts. I'm going to go through each one rather quickly. So first, as Nikki introduced, the Carpentries. You can Google carpentries.org. It's a great model for skilling and capacity development because it includes a training program that's sound pedagogy for teaching. It includes assessment built into all of their training materials. It includes engagement coordinators, people that help you set these things up. It has a membership model built in for sustainability, so you can afford these things. It's open. There are no geopolitical borders associated with the Carpentries model. It's open to all. So these are just some of the things going for it. We can use that. Content. We make that content. Who? All of us. What do we need to be in any such specimen carpentry? How do we get together and build that? And consider that it needs to be iterative. The ground is shifting under our feet with what we all need to be able to do. Our job descriptions are changing. From the level of the nation, down to the level of the individual, people need help in the moment. A single researcher, a single collection manager has a particular problem in mind versus I need to learn R, versus I need to set up a network for my organization around capacity development. An example would be the Smithsonian. They have built the entire Carpentries network into what they do in the collection. So everybody, all the researchers, staff at the Smithsonian benefit from Carpentries. We need an integrated help model, I would suggest, so that anyone can get help at a one-stop shop kind of place instead of having to go to many different places to do that. One model we can riff on, that we can experiment with, the current German effort to integrate their research infrastructures across chemistry, across earth data, across the life sciences, biodiversity data, and more. They have 26 different consortia, and they've built this integrated help model. We need people, some of you have experienced the GBIF North American Slack. We have a spinach Slack. Anybody? Tadwig Slack? The Tadwig Slack members in here? Yes. So we need places, and Carpentries has this, where people can go and ask members for help. If you go to this Slack and you join, there are 5,000 people in that Slack to help you with your data needs and your questions. We need software continued development as the kind of things that Marie just highlighted for us. So thinking about the way in which GBIF provides researchers with data, and they have questions about data and data use and data needs and data visualization and connecting data. We also have software, like many of you using here. I'm part of the TaxonWorks a developer and taxonomist, Dmitry Dmitriev, is here, and he is part of building kind of things we talk about inside the software for managing as much of this sort of data quality issues, helping you manage your data with building the tools into the software. For example, validation, so that your data would be more fair, if you will, before it goes out to Google. So we're coupling that with giving you the skills to do things like learn about ontologies and then put that information in the software to start with. So when it goes out the data up the door, it's already there. So we need to continue to work with our research software engineers. You know, that we need to collaborate with them. How much of the things we need to do in a software carpentry network, in a specimen carpentry network, in a data carpentry network, how much of that could be facilitated by the tools, and what do we need those tools to be able to do? So we need a liaison with them, and we need user interfaces, right? We need to align human. The talk this morning was excellent when she said on her main screen was human capacity development, and humans in the loop is key to what we want to be able to do. And so this also means, in this point, we need AI. We're all using it. We need to ensure that it's for good. But what do we teach people about it? If we're going to put specimen carpentry together, what do we say to them? There are 4 threads in the Carpentries model here in the community talking about that topic. So that was a lot, and it was fast, right? But the point is, to me, all these are pieces of something like specimen carpentry, if we think about ourselves as a global entity and not as a single organization. So with that, it's key. Partnerships for the goals, right? Thinking about ourselves and how we can align. Thinking about how we can build these things together so that local communities are enabled and engaged. And we're going to see another example of that in one of the upcoming talks. So if you're interested in these topics, please join us at the unconference on Friday and bring your thoughts and ideas. With that, thank you from myself and the co-authors.
Want to read your title? Thank you, Deb. Like I said, we'll do questions at the end. We next got Elspeth Haston, who's from the Royal Botanic Gardens, Edinburgh. And she's going to talk about tools and skills for curating digitised collections.
Slides were down there.
Super. So I think this talk is going to fit quite well with what's being proposed for this kind of specimen carpentry concept. So what I'd like to do is talk about the tools and skills for curating digitized collections. We've got a huge number of digitized collections now, and the curation of them is something that can be a real challenge for collections. So size of the problem, I mean, just for the herbaria, there's over 3,000 active herbaria housing an estimated 400 million specimens. And these are increasing rapidly, the number of specimens that we have to manage and curate. So there's now over 140 million specimen records in GBIF. So, and that's for plantae, fungi, and chromista. So there's a lot of specimens already digitized. There's going to be more. They're coming quick. So how do we manage the curation of those? So essentially, the digitization is opening up access to the collections, which is fantastic. It's enabling research to be carried out using the data, and that's the aim of all our work, to digitize the collections. But it's also increasing the complexity of curating the collections. And so essentially, we now have 2 collections to curate, and we need to ensure that they are aligned. So with what is the need for taxonomic curation? So it's an estimated about half of tropical specimens in herbaria have the wrong name applied. And that has a massive impact on any research carried out on the data, whether that's distribution analyses, red listing, or research based on the DNA extracted from these specimens. It's going to have a big impact. So by taxonomic curation, obviously curation covers a massive range of activities and responsibilities. So we're really focusing here on the taxonomic curation, and that's the management and updating of the taxon names applied to the specimens in the collections. So there are different levels of taxonomic curation that can be done in a herbarium. So taxon names can be applied at various levels within the collection. And this may be at some of the highest hierarchical taxonomic ranks, and that's really impacting the arrangement of the herbarium, or right down to the specimen level, where it's relating to the identification of the individual specimen. And so the curation can be carried out at any of these different levels, depending on the scope of the taxa being curated and the time available. So before digitizing, it was much easier to curate using like regional floristic accounts, for example. And it was quite common to have specimens from different regions arranged differently in the collection. And that was resulting in multiple taxonomies. Now that we've got a digitized collection, we've got a database, we usually have a single taxonomy in the database, and that's pushing us towards aligning all the specimens to a single classification. And the filing name of the specimen in the database has to match the physical location to ensure findability. So it's a huge task, and the combination of the growth of the collections and the lack of growth of staffing means that we have to look at more efficient and effective options for doing this work. So as a community, we've got an opportunity to work together to build and share tools and resources. And alongside this, as we've heard, we need to upskill the people working to curate the collections. So what we've been doing at the Royal Botanic Garden, Edinburgh, is we've been working on 3 case studies to explore the options for building a more effective and efficient taxonomic curation workflow for digitized collections. So I'm going to give a quick overview of a couple of the tasks within the workflow, thinking about what tools and resources there are to help and what skills are needed for the task and what training support exists in the community already. So one of the tasks is the classification review. So when you're looking to curate your collection, one of the things you need to do is look and see what classification you're going to follow. So that needs to, this task is going to be reviewing available literature and taxonomic resources to identify most recent monographs and revisions. There's some good resources out there. And there's some things like Tropicos and World Flora Online and Plants of the World Online also provide some recent literature for taxa. I've got Checklist Bank here as well is really excellent, and it's getting better all the time. There's also going to be a number of smaller papers describing new species that need to be caught, and nomenclators are often useful for finding these things like IPNE and some of the cryptogamic nomenclators. So nomenclature is a key skill needed for this task. To be able to review the classifications. There are some resources out there already to help with nomenclature, but it would be great to have more tutorials and things available for training people up. So another task is comparing names to global taxon resources. So once a classification has been selected, you need then have a process of comparison of names and taxonomy. And these actually need to be pulled apart. The names and taxonomy need to be pulled apart. So we generally look at the names first. And again, there are tools and resources available. And again, these are improving all the time. So thank you to all of those people who are working on those and building and developing them. It's really, really appreciated. So data wrangling tools. They've got some manuals available and there are some training resources available. Some of them can be really difficult to find. So I think having some of those more visible and sharing resources would be really good. So comparing lists of names, that's a really common thing that we have to do when we're creating collections, and researchers do it as well. So one thing that's useful for that is Python scripts. Especially when you're using them alongside ChatGPT. If you're not a strong programmer, then it'd be really good to build more curation staff skills in Python and Jupyter notebooks. And then there's comparing taxonomy to global resources. So when we're comparing the taxonomy, some tools have been making really great strides, even just in the last few months. So World Flora Online name matching tools are fantastic. They've been recently updated. So if you've looked at them before, look at them again. They're getting better. And of course, we've got Open Refine with the reconciliation services. So again, a good understanding of nomenclature has been critical through the comparison stages to assess the differences in the names, which are always going to be found. And this can also include feeding back to the resources where there are errors to improve the quality. And that's our responsibility to do that as a community. Although recognizing it can put added work onto the people working in those resources. But I think it is our responsibility to do that. So the tasks I've been talking about have been part of this taxonomic curation workflow that we've been building. And doing this has identified requirements both for tools and resources and requirements for skills. And what we've been finding is that by building this curatorial workflow together as a team, curation team, we've been learning together. And we've been standardizing our taxonomic curation as well. And that's been really interesting. And hopefully this curatorial workflow will also provide something to help train new staff and to give them guidance for their work. So I'd like to really big thank you to some of the staff at the Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh, Zoe Goodwin, Alan Elliott, Roger Hyam, Martin Pullen, and the whole of the RBG ICT department, who've been really helpful in installing software, etc.
Okay. Thank you all. Our final talk is going to be from Laura Russell, and she's going to talk about developing a standard, open and replicable course curriculum to enable the mobilisation and use of biodiversity data. And Laura joins us again from the GBIF Secretariat in Copenhagen. Button do I push? Forward, yeah. Back, and there's a pointer there. Okay. Yeah.
See if I can do this. Yeah, no, I need my speaker notes. All right, hi, I'm Laura Russell, and I'm the training officer for community capacity at GBIF. My primary responsibilities are to develop and manage the GBIF training curriculum and to coordinate our volunteer community. During this presentation, I will describe the role that the biodiversity data mobilization course plays in GBIF's approach to capacity enhancement. I will review some of the successes and challenges we've had with this course and discuss the processes used by myself and a team of international trainers have used to make this course open and replicable. Nope. Okay. Broadly, what we're trying to achieve with capacity development in GBIF falls under two main objectives. The first is to develop the capacity to mobilize data through GBIF, and the second is to develop the capacity to use GBIF mediated data. We target these objectives by working to develop capacity on nested levels that you see in the slide, and while they go from the individual to the regional level. While we try to embed capacity in all the layers, I will just be focusing on the individual level. The goal of the individual level is to strengthen and grow GBIF's community of practice. And when we talk about the community of practice, we mean the individuals with the skills, knowledge, and motivation to share and reuse biodiversity data and to support others participating in the community. GBIF has a very strong volunteer community, and we are very lucky that so many individuals are willing to come together to learn, share, and pay it forward. So we want to ensure there are opportunities for individuals to build their skills, which ultimately contribute to GBIF's work in the global community. Our training strategy, in short, is that we strive to provide a blended learning environment that offers reusable and easily accessible learning opportunities for all levels. We strive to maintain a catalog of resources that further the goals to mobilize and use data. And we collaborate with a range of volunteers and experts in the development and delivery of materials. At the Secretariat, in collaboration with our community of trainers and mentors, we've developed a curriculum on biodiversity data mobilization and data use. These courses are available online for self-paced use or can be adapted on site or for virtual workshops. Our current course catalog includes Intro to GBIF, Biodiversity Data Mobilization Project Planning, and Intro to GBIF mediated data. We also have a series of courses that are specific to nodes and those interested in becoming formal participants. And as Marie mentioned, we also have one for GR cycle editors. The data mobilization course was developed from late 2015 through August of 2016 in preparation for the first Biodiversity Information for Development program workshop in Rwanda. Our bid program was funded by the European Union. This workshop in particular was in support of the sub-Saharan region. A team of experts from within the community was invited to share their expert knowledge to help instruct others how to mobilize data. The team chose to develop the content in 5 areas, and these included informatics foundations, project planning, data capture, data management, and data publishing. Before the materials were developed, the team spent time focusing on instructional design elements by defining the goals, learning objectives, and measures of success to support a digital certification for the course. It was also decided that the course would be comprised of blended learning, meaning that parts of the course would be conducted online and part in person. Once these elements were in place, the materials were developed. The course instruction was complemented by practical exercises and by a use case scenario. Certification was determined by successful completion of exercises associated with 2 additional use cases. To date, we have certified 268 individuals in the course, 131 at the advanced level, and 137 at the basic level. Actually, those numbers are reversed. No, that's right. That's right. 131 advanced, 137 basic. As we've had the opportunity to develop and refine this course over the last 9 years, we've been able to streamline presentations, exercises, and use cases. In preparation for our next round of capacity enhancement workshops for the bid program in 2026, we're refreshing the course materials to align with current changes in technology. We are reviewing all of the goals, objectives, and measures of success for the course as well to ensure they still meet the needs of the community. We're looking at updated instruction on data types, placing more emphasis on the event core, which would pave way for future edits related to the data model work, making updated technology changes related to changes in the IPT, writing new use cases for emerging thematic areas, and writing an instruction guide for better data reuse. We've used the data mobilization course as our model for other courses in our catalog. So you may be wondering, what are those methods? How did we do it? Following an instructional design process that includes course goals and defined learning objectives that are set forth before we begin creating content. We identify members of the GBIF community at practice that can work with the Secretariat on the content development. We develop modular content that can be both adapted and reused. We develop content that includes both instruction and practice. And we provide either certificates or certifications as appropriate for the course. We host the materials on GitHub. The system uses Antora, a framework for combining documentation written in ASCII Doctor into a single website. And while this method isn't as full-featured as a learning management system might be, it allows us to deliver materials in a completely open environment that others can adapt. Additionally, it allows us to integrate with the Crowd-In to manage our translations of all the materials into other languages. And that was something we struggled with before using it in GitHub. Right. Okay. For sure, we've experienced challenges along the way. Is what we have perfect? No, but we have standardized how we do it across our courses. We aim for continuous updates, but technology changes so fast and it's hard to keep up with sometimes. So for instance, our IPT screenshots in our training materials are very out of date at the moment. Is what we have the only way? No, there are many ways to instruct our community, but this is the path we've chosen and we've stuck to it for the last 9 years. And we know that materials can be adapted to suit the situation or the community. And the big one, are translations complete? No, they aren't. We rely on volunteer translators, and our integration with Crowd-In only covers the website content. Some of the recorded videos are supplied with subtitles, but not all of them. Auto translations in the video apps help, but aren't perfect. And we use a lot of PowerPoint presentations, and those are only available in English. So I'm definitely looking for solutions to these challenges. And then all of these opportunities rely on people, our community of practice. There are many opportunities for collaborating on the content. I'm very open to partnering up to develop modules and tutorials In particular, we need to build our data user content. We also rely greatly on our volunteer translators. Most translations happen when there's active interest in seeing it completed. And I'd love to hear ideas if you have any technical solutions for the things that are not currently easily translatable. As for cross-linking content, many in the community are developing training materials. GBIF generally starts at the point of sharing the data. We don't attempt to train on digitization. There are others that do it better, but we can definitely cross-link to provide varying access points to all the materials that we all develop. So I hope we can discuss all the challenges and opportunities. And lastly, I'd like to thank my co-authors. Sharon, Sophie, and Dave have served as longtime collaborators on the data mobilization course. The entire group of GBIF regional support teams in Africa, Asia, Europe, and Central Asia, and Latin America and the Caribbean, a lot of whom are in the room today, have been trainees, mentors, trainers, and advisors on all the materials. And I'd especially like to thank GBIF Norway for early on implementing the data mobilization course as part of the biodata program, training students in Belarus, Tajikistan, Ukraine, and Armenia. And lastly, I'd like to thank GBIF Sweden and Finland for adapting the course as part of their capacity enhancement support program project with Ethiopia. So, thanks.
Questions online is what you're saying?
You want to do it?
Let's do your partners.
Okay, so we have a question online. And it's from this one, Siobhan Leachford. Wait on the question. Okay, I'll do the comment first. Siobhan says, thank you to Marie for this presentation. GR Cycle is so important. I use it to find collections to work on in Bionomia, to connect collectors with their specimens, and also to add collections to Wikidata. It can help the collections become discoverable, and it can help improve the visibility of their impact. Yeah. Well, thank you, Siobhan. That was a really nice comment to get. And she has a question, and that is for Elspeth. And she says, great to see you emphasize open refine, as I am a fan. Can you give me more information on what services do you reconcile to and why? Also, do you encourage folk to use open refine carpentries to improve their skills? I've got someone's phone.
So those are really good questions, and I don't have great answers. So first of all, we've just started using OpenRefine fairly recently. So we're still learning about some of the reconciliation services. We definitely use Welfare Online, and we use IPNI, are the two main ones that we use. But there's so much more in there that we still need to learn to use more. I've forgotten the other bit of the question. I guess the answer is no, really. We're getting there, and hopefully we will in the future.
So you're looking at the original author of the Open Refine lesson in data carpentry. So I don't know if Siobhan knows that or not. But yeah, so getting access to that tool, but it's been modified and updated many times. And a very quick story on that was at giving birth to data carpentry with a group of IT people in the room. They were all suggesting what skills we needed to facilitate people being able to learn and knowledge they needed. And none of them in the room knew about that tool. So I was happy that I got to be in that space. So we have that.
Coming apart. Yes. Yes. Technical challenge.
Yeah, I think Siobhan's made a good point about how a generic tool like OpenRefine is supported by very generic training resources too. So it's not something that's particular to our community. It's quite a safe bet. Many people use it, and we know that if we build particular training resources around it in terms of how we would use it in biodiversity, we can be fairly confident that that tool is going to be there in 2 or 3 years' time. So I think.
At the risk of sounding like an advertisement, OpenRefine is for working with messy data. I would guess if I asked you if you work with messy data, is everybody's hand going to go up? Everybody? Messy data? Anybody got messy data? Yeah. Okay. And it's actually fun. And I'm not kidding. One example too, just to drive it home when Siobhan asked about services, there are services built by one of the developers on our team called globalnames.org. Global Names is the part of the service that helps you use the Biodiversity Heritage Library, which finds the names in there for you. If you have a pile of names you need to verify against a particular service like World Flora Online, you can open up OpenRefine and you can ping your names, you can send your list of names to the API at Global Names and get back the verification for those names inside your own spreadsheet right there from inside the software. That's an example. I guess it's time for their questions now.
I could imagine that would be very powerful for GI Cycle. Can also predict that Siobhan is going to say that GI Cycle is in Wikidata, so you can just go to Wikidata. I was interested to Marie. You talked about the training that is available in the GI Cycle program, which is really using collections descriptions to populate GBIF. Is there training on how collections descriptions are used?
No. So we implemented the possibility of uploading collection descriptors in GeoCycle last year. So we've been slowly getting more data. I think we're not reaching a critical mass where we would need to start guiding people on how to navigate those. But I hope we'll reach that point. For now, no. But please upload collection descriptors.
Can I add? So you chatted briefly a meeting or two ago. I was thinking that along those lines, teaching people how to use something that's new in the community. And I mentioned very briefly in my talk, it was one the wheel about the role of professional societies. I think I just blanketly said organizations. But this notion of going to the professional societies and taking that there and walking them through. Some of them are still at the stage that they'll build their own websites, they make their own lists, and it's added headache because they're updating all this data in many different places. So walking them through it could be something we could work on. Partnerships for the goals, right? SDG 17.
Thank you. I was also interested to Laura. You talked about primarily the focus on training, if I'm correct, is in terms of mobilizing the data, so capacity to mobilize, and perhaps less on capacity to use. Is that correct?
The first course we developed in this method was the data mobilization course, and we've used it all around the world. Our Asia team has been, since 2022, been offering that course yearly. This year, they've used it twice. We also have Introduction to GBIF Mediated Data, which is a pretty introductory course to using GBIF. There's an R tutorial in there. We also have our Data Use Club, which we do 4 sessions a year, 2 from researchers and then 2 from typically our data products team on how to use GBIF tools. As part of our data use club, we also have a partnership with Data Camp Donates, where any countries, individuals and countries can get a free license through us if their GDP per capita is less than 13.5 USD. It's also eligible for nodes. we use that to help supplement data literacy. But I see our data use as an area that we really need to supplement and build up our courses and the modules that are available. So if anybody wants to help with that, contact me.
Please remember your cards. Information from you, what you need.
Just for a while. I'm Piotr Tokarski from Jewish Poland. I'm just going to add that my organization, together with University of Oslo, University of Sorbonne, and some other universities from Europe, are preparing the joint master program for curriculum training of students for 2 years, and it's just being submitted to it's preparing to be submitted to the European Commission, and we hope it will succeed next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with that. I guess on that subject, in terms of training students, so my organisation at Q teaches 3 MSCs, I think, and I know that Edinburgh does 2. Who else around here does? Because I teaches students, teaches courses. You work at a university. Yeah. So I think that's another place where we can like usefully use those kind of resources.
Questions? Are there more questions?
I have particular interest in developing a module that professors could use if they're teaching a segment on GBIF, that we could put the module out there and they could just use it to include GBIF materials into their course curriculum. I just spoke on Sunday, I think, to Libby Elwood from the US about that, because she's had some experience with that with the Blue project.
Any more questions?
Thoughts? Yes, please.
So actually it's an idea for GeoCycle. Maybe it's on your roadmap, and I hope Elspeth also approves it because it's connected to her previous presentation in the other session. What about displaying meets levels? Have you considered that? I think would be nice.
Obviously, I'm biased.
So I've been forced to. No, I'm joking. I'm part of the expert reviews for the mid standards. So yes, yeah. So I'm also have a lot of interest in seeing it implemented. I don't know if it'll be for next year, but yeah. I hope we can display some digitization metrics. It's a bit in between the cycle and GBIF, to be honest. So sure how much, but if anything, this should be something that can be uploaded as collection descriptors in GeoCycle, if anything. But at least I can imagine some collections might be interested in displaying the percentage of specimen at certain MIDS level. So yes, for the GBIF part, I don't know. Do I have? Okay.
Thank you, Hank Dodd from Tulane University. This is one of the best symposia I've heard. And I have to commend you on the job you're doing, with training. It's just so important. And it's helping. Dave Schindel used to complain about how siloed the collections community was, and we weren't sharing ideas and information about how to do things. Well, you guys are breaking down those silos, and it's going to be good for the whole collections community. So I commend you. You're doing a wonderful job. Keep it up.
So I think we're just going to wrap up. Before I get to Nikki to wrap up, I just want to let you know that they're going to be readjusting all the rooms. we need to leave and go into the poster session. There's a lot of great posters out there. So that's what we need to do next. But I'm just going to pass this over to Nikki.
Oh, sure.
I'll say so.
Go. I just want to say the same thing as
Yeah,
you.
all right. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
I know you have to go. You have the cards if you would like to fill out anything that you'd like to think about that you need training resources on there. We're all learning all the time. I still learn stuff every day. I still need training in lots of aspects too. We have the unconference on Friday. So if you would like, as well as filling out a card, fill out a post-it note and put it on the Tadwig booth, and we can talk about this more on Friday if you would like.
Please.
That's what you were going to say.
Thank you. Yes. Say that. Come to the own conference, continue this conversation, bring all those thoughts that are now rolling around in your heads. I'm interested in the network level. How do we make this? Build a curriculum, build a network. Borderless. Thank you.